remember if it's today or was it yesterday that was the shortest day of the year?
The 20th.
The
So
20th.
yeah, I think.
Well, we have a whole extra minute, so we don't have to talk as fast today. Yesterday, we had to talk fast. Brenda, Dara, have you already met each other?
I don't think so.
No, hi.
Hi,
Nice to
nice
meet you.
Wow. While we yay, Alder. I
Yay.
just, my screen is down there because it looks like I'm like, what's on my desk or something. And I finally looked down and there you were. Were you on the screen before the banner went across?
No, I just got on.
Oh, fantastic. I'm so grateful. And I would not make anyone's dream virtual assistant myself because I'll go, "Oh, I'm not connected to that person? Well, what do you know?" This this is all making sense now. Oh my goodness. Dara, can I impose upon you first to introduce yourself? And Alder, have you already met Dara?
No, I haven't.
Perfect. So, Dara, just introduce yourself. You can tell them, you know, what your endeavor is and what have you, and then um, I'll just I'll just let the rest of the ladies introduce themselves too. And it's possible that one other person will be coming in because she's busy with her patients as a physician, and so she may or may not be able to come in, but when she's there, somebody go, "Hey, look at the screen, she's here." 'Cause I'll be all involved. Dara, go right ahead.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here today. Christine, thanks so much for the invitation. My name is Dara Ray, and I am the founder of My Data Diary, as well as the founder of Learn Idaho, which is a nonprofit organization. And My Data Diary is a software product that I developed to help families and family caregivers simplify the business of life so that they could have all of the information and documents they need to manage their life and as well as assist in the care and management of someone else's life simply and easily and securely, and make sure they have everything they need in one place and a way to engage digitally and share. So created this product. Had you asked me 5 years ago if I would be a software developer, I would have laughed. That was not my plan. But I created this product after having been a consultant in the space for quite a while. My consulting is called My Care Companions, and I was helping my clients simplify the business of life. Very often, sandwich generation caregivers working to help their parents and begin to engage with their loved ones. When I had a personal failure where I thought we had it all together, and we discovered through an emergency in our family the unexpected loss of my mother-in-law after 15 years watching and waiting for my father-in-law to be able to go. We were blinded by our own expectation bias. And while we had what we needed for him, we didn't have everything we needed for her, and had relied very heavily on her around household management and financial management and everything with their home. So realizing what I was missing was a tool to do it well and easily and be able to share it. That's how we ended up creating My Data Diary. And just because I have a moment, I want to share that Learn Idaho is a nonprofit organization we formed to provide free educational content on aging and caregiving topics. And we provide that information free, primarily intended for people in Idaho, but it's all web-based, so it's available to anyone everywhere. And it's all offered by professionals who come together to share their knowledge and share information that will be helpful in the areas of health, wealth, lifestyle, and care. So those are my endeavors.
Wonderful.
Oh, Brenda, you know that Dara is located in Idaho, and we share a border because I'm in Oregon. So you can even start with where you are located, and then Alder, you might be located nearby or quite a distance. But I know that you 2 know each other. So tell us, Brenda, we'll start with you, and then I bet you 2 are good at passing the baton.
Yeah. So my name's Brenda Freed, and Alder Allensworth.
Right.
He and I co-created the Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer's educational program. And I am in Texas. Alder is in Florida. Our connection is we did our music therapy internships together in 1980. And we've been friends ever since. We wanted to do a project together ever since. And Alder had this experience with her mom, which I'll let her tell. And we came together to do this project. We are interested in educating young people about Alzheimer's and helping families incorporate their young children into the care of their loved one who has Alzheimer's. So we too are working with the sandwich generation. And Alder, I'll let you tell how the program started. She is in Tampa, Florida.
Thank you, Brenda. My mom had Alzheimer's, and my father actually had vascular dementia. And my mom, when she was deep in Alzheimer's, the grandchildren would come and visit, and they noticed something was different, even from the ages of like 4 or 5 years old to 6, 7, 8. Every year they would come when school is out, and they could see changes. And my mom started acting very bizarre at times because of the Alzheimer's. And the kids just couldn't understand what was going on. And so we had to sit them down and explain to them what Alzheimer's was, why Gran was acting strange, and then come up with activities and fun things that they could do together to kind of bypass some of the behaviors. And we started researching what's out there for kids like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And there's not much. There's children's books that talk about a grandparent not remembering. But we know Alzheimer's and dementia is so much more than not remembering. And so I decided I've got to write a story about an incident that happened with my mom and the grandchildren and what we did. And we started looking for a publisher, and that became quite a process. And Brenda is a singer-songwriter, and we know music touches people with Alzheimer's and dementia in such a positive way. So we wrote a song, and we turned it into a animated lyric video, and that's available on YouTube. And then we decided there needed to be more. So we created an educational series. It's 5 videos, one for responsible adult with children that's more of a geared towards the adults, and then 4 that are more geared towards children. What is Alzheimer's, mild stage, moderate stage, and end stage, with behaviors and then ideas of fun things that they can do together. So that's where we are in the project. It's been quite a fun ride.
We're trying to market it to, the people who need it, the families who need it. It is, we say it's multicultural, multimedia, concise, comprehensive, yet concise. It's affordable, it's accessible, and we just try to impress upon people the importance of children understanding, not just in that moment, but for future, generations, so they understand throughout life about these things. And if they come across someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, they won't be afraid, and they'll, know how to respond compassionately.
Imagine the day that 2 children are at school, any age, full, up to high school and college, even myself with my background, I am always shocked that someone says, once they know what I'm about and they go, "Oh, I wish I had known about you when I was caring for my mom. She's gone now." Or that's exactly why grandpa is now living in a part of our house. Imagine the day that two students, kids, young people, someone says, "Really? Your loved one too?" Do are they in the mid stage, or no, we've been talking about it, probably now in the end stage of it, and just being able to talk about that, just like someone would say, do you like the new art teacher, or how is taking French hard, or are you gonna be in the band, or do you like soccer? Is like, how are your grandparents doing? Do they have this or that? And to know I am not the one in the room that's keeping this secret, that I guess I shouldn't mention all these things that are going on because they're private and they would be disrespectful, but I also feel like I'm the only one here, and to find out that you're not,
Exactly.
it's just normal talking.
Exactly. And, we say it's those 4 videos that Alder mentioned are geared toward children. They're, like a child who can watch cartoons, can understand them. But they're also informative for adults, because I know many people who have had a loved one in the severe stage and they just did not know what to do. So we help people know what to do.
Well, and I long for the day when it's not just the children on the playground, but we're not there yet around the water cooler in the workplace, or
Yeah.
in the neighborhood on the sidewalk. We find, I'm thrilled to learn about this resource, and we'll look forward to learning more to share it with families that I work with. But educating about Alzheimer's, about aging, about what to expect, about what is normal, and what you can do to still navigate the joys and challenges of aging and caregiving is important for everyone at every age. And we have so much work to do together to make this dialogue something that is part of the fabric of our lives. And that people can understand at every age, at the appropriate level, what aging looks like, and what Alzheimer's looks like, and what various types of conditions look like, and how to be a better caregiver.
Absolutely.
Oh, Dara, you were so it really helps to know that if someone has invented something or is presenting something, that it's because it was born of grief, or I went through this. I don't want you to walk this path alone. And you said a phrase, I wish I could bring it up right now, but I'm sure you can, about here goes mom, and yet it was dad that we were like, is this the last birthday? What was that phrase to describe our mindset of we're ready? We think, like we're set and we've got the info. What did you say about that?
We were blinded by our expectation.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had been, so a bit more about the story is my father-in-law had a massive heart attack at age 60 and was given 5 years, 10 at the outside to live. And we became what I call an activated family. We did everything we were supposed to do. We put the paperwork in order. Mom took over all of the stressful management of the household. And then we went on with the business of living. And 5 years passed and he was still alive. We were grateful. 10 years passed and he was still alive, and we started calling him the Energizer Bunny. And 17 years later, he walked in on his own 2 feet to a big arena and watched our then 18-year-old son graduate from high school. It's something we never thought about. And 5 months after that, she caught the flu and passed in 5 days. And it was, you know, one of those things that we just totally didn't expect. And you know, when I'm working with my families and my caregivers, it has given me great pause. And I spend a lot of time asking them, what is their backup plan? And yes, you've put all of these plans in place to care for your loved one. What is the plan if something happens to you? And what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because there's so much there that's intertwined. But we often plan for what we expect to happen, and we need to plan for what could happen.
Yes.
Good point.
I think I'm kind of in one of those moods where I'm just kind of like, okay, there's supposed to be a plumber coming. We live in an apartment. We don't have control. We are told a plumber is supposed to come. We also have a dog in the house. We also have extra family members. Holiday or not, we are going to have extra family members. I'm like, nothing has gone off or barked yet. No one has
Barking was at my house.
come through. You know, come past me on the screen, you know, with a wrench or anything yet. So I'm kind of like, oh my goodness, we've made it to 16 minutes. Nothing's gone kafooey. If it goes kafooey, I'm going to at least mute and take care of those things. Thank goodness my husband, who also produces this, is in the house. So
We'll carry
anyway,
on.
you'll just take it. I have no doubt that you could just do this. But in case I do have to go off screen, Brenda, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask. Could you sing that song? Because I did look at some of your materials, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I didn't click on the right thing to see or to watch the video or to hear the song that other people are like, "We love the song. We think it's so great." And this is Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer that helps every age, but certainly is geared so that someone would feel like, this is great. I have a 7-year-old that wants to be on top of what's going on and wants to be informed. And I'm kind of feeling like I need some information too. We can all be on the same page. Do you mind?
Well,
And do you do it with a guitar or background music or something?
Here's the deal. I've never been asked to do that, but I would do it if I could. But what I'd like to do is maybe we could play between us, Alder and I could maybe pull up and we could play it. You know, you could hear
Well,
it.
that would be nice. And if it doesn't work out, because I thought, well, this is coming out of nowhere. So like I said, I'm in a mood. I'm like, wow, we made it this far.
Well, this is great. And Christine, you are so sweet. I mean, I've watched another, thing you did with other people. And
I want people
so
to be
much for
comfortable.
this opportunity just to meet Dara and for us to be together. I really do appreciate it. So Alder, do you think you can pull it up so people could at least hear it? Or, I mean, I'd love for you to watch the video. The video is so cute. Is there a way we could do that? I don't know that much about StreamYard, but I would love for you to see it because we call this, we call it the animated story song. We call it the perfect introduction for children to learn about Alzheimer's. And is there any way we can do this? She's more than I am.
I'm busily looking, and I think I have a sample of it. The complete song with the background, with the animated video, is 6 minutes long.
Do you? I mean,
so I do have a sample of just part of it, and so that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, and I do not want to stop you from talking about this. I just thought, if you were like, and da 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 da
well,
da da
I
da da da.
Words, I could probably do it. It's sung by a young student that I had. I also teach music, guitar, piano, and voice. And one of my young female singers sang it. And so it's sung from the child's perspective. And
did you select her to do that because her voice, you thought, would relate more to children or sounded more like
we
shows that they watch?
We wanted children to be able to relate to it, and I had this singer who could do it.
Is that me?
Then she sleeps all day and wanders through the night. And when she leaves the burner on, it gives us such a fright. Oh, agape, agape, help my grano, please. Agape, agape, means love for you and me. Dad says you can't get Alzheimer's like you catch the flu. He says Gran may act angry and won't play like she used to do. And Gran now has a walker to help keep her on her feet. She wears a safety bracelet with her address and ID. Agape, agape, keep Gran safe, oh please. Agape, agape, means love for you and me. Some people
Oh,
get
Alder, thank you so
Alzheimer's
much.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh my goodness.
I can hear
I
it
didn't
now.
mean
I
to
mean,
step all over you talking. All of a
no,
sudden I was looking for it and boom, it came up.
That's all
I
right.
got it. And you're
Oh,
teaching
sorry.
a bit of, is that Latin or Greek? Agape's Greek?
Actually,
yes, right?
it is Greek. It's an
Right.
old Greek word. It's one of the 3 words for love. There's different kinds of love. And agape is universal love. It's love for family and friends. And it's just that kind of universal love.
And we have that
Yes.
definition on our website because a lot of people ask,
Yeah.
well, what's agape? And some people thought she was singing agave. No, it's agape. But yeah, so with the program comes a person can download the song, and of course the printout of the lyrics, and then also a download of it's a like we said, an animated thing, but there is one without the lyrics and then one with the lyrics for early readers, and the program is geared to help also people with hearing impairments and visual impairments, because we provide the transcripts for the videos to those who have hearing impairments, and then a person with sight impairment can listen to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So that's another kind of thing I think that makes us unique, is that we have those components for children and those with hearing and sight impairments.
Oh, fantastic. Dara, you said that 5 years ago, you would have been shaking your head going, I have no reason to do anything like that. Why would I go that direction? And yay for aging, or yay for longevity, that when we do continue on, we're taking with us these experiences, some of them so painful, and some of them that you were like, that's just new, or how did I get to be part of this group, or this job that I took on. I was trained for something I've never been trained before, and then all these things come into play. They say that as you continue to age, you're able to synthesize, you're able to grab this and those and see just a broader, it's like you've gone farther up a mountain and you're really able to see what the landscape is like that you have passed through. And you can come up with solutions to difficulties that someone who's perfectly intelligent, they just don't have all that to gather from. So 5 years ago, was there a particular thing at that moment? Was it the passing of your mom?
There was a moment, and I mentioned I had already been, consulting with families, and honestly had been feeling like, how can I be helping families and have had such a colossal failure in my own? And my husband, as the local child, had taken on the responsibility directly of helping his dad navigate this terrain, and walked in the hospital the last time a son, and left the hospital an administrator. I mean, he had an estate to administer, a death to administer, and it was an unmitigated mess. I mean, there were a lot of things that we had to untangle and unravel, and it was a moment standing in our kitchen 3 months after his mother had passed, where he had spent the better part of another afternoon chasing the paperwork for a particular stock transaction through 3 brokerage houses and the sale and the this and the that, only to find out that the underlying stock had no value, and the company had gone up. I mean, it was just one of those things. And he looked at me in complete exasperation and said, "When do I get to be sad?"
Oh,
And it just totally broke me. And where I had been feeling bad that this had happened, and where I felt like there was something better that could be done, it was that moment that just catalyzed me to find a solution, to find a way for other families to not have this same experience. And it will never be perfect, but you need a tool set. You need a way to capture and share information, to help your family manage the business of your life when you can't manage it for yourself, whether that is because of dementia or Alzheimer's and someone needs to step in to do that, or because you've passed and somebody needs to tie up your estate and your affairs. And it's a lot. And so it was that was the moment, Christine. It was a moment of pure, honest grief by my husband, just questioning when he got to be sad. And my goal is to give people time back so that they can spend more time loving, and when appropriate, grieving, and less time chasing papers. So.
It's not the first time, won't be the last time that someone who was maybe in the industry of funerals, in the industry of, Alzheimer's, we've already brought up, even in something that maybe is kind of a side thing. I'll just say assistive devices, that person said, "Oh my goodness, I was caught short." And I will just sum up what I'm feeling right now, that we're not we can forgive ourselves for not having it go perfect, because human, he was sad. The rug went out from under him. One of those people, I believe they were in the funeral industry, said how I was at a moment where I thought I should know what to do next, but it was my own loved one. So I needed someone else. That's my premise, because I went from being a person in college. I wanted to be a resident assistant, and they handed me a book, and it was called "We Really Do Need Each Other," and I felt like throwing it, going, I don't need anybody. I'm independent. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm about. But you just someone comes along and unplugs your jukebox. They've just the air is gone. The sparkle is darkened. You're in a fog. You really do need these other people, and you need your data where you can find it or where someone else can find it. They easily, and that is what you have prepared for. And for someone to say, "But I've already seen dementia happen. This is the progression." It's like, There's so many different kinds. It can start at an age that you are just gobsmacked, it to know, oh, it's not going to all turn out, but you will have a tool. That's what I feel like Alder has created for maybe an adult to hand to a child. Now this child has the tool to begin, um, some people say, unpacking. What is going on? Is it something that I did that has made grandpa angry or turn away from me? Or am I not loved enough or loving enough that I would be forgotten or treated like I'm somebody else? All those things that we do too as adults. You just the questioning. I do anyway. Why?
And
Yeah.
children are so vulnerable to taking on things that are not theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Christine, when you said, what did I do wrong? How come Gran is acting weird? Did I make her angry? What did I do wrong? And we have to explain to children, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It's the disease. And I think as adults, we need to hear that too. We didn't do anything wrong. It's the disease process. And sometimes I remember me getting frustrated with my mom in dementia, and I had to stop and say, whoa, it's not her. She's not being mean to me. It's the disease. Don't take it personally. And then to translate that to children, it's the disease. Don't take it personally. And let's divert. Let's see what else we can do to change this energy.
Well, and it's interesting that you say it's the disease, don't take it personally, because we discovered posthumously that my mother-in-law actually did have mild cognitive impairment and was transitioning into a dementia journey. And she had become very difficult. She had become paranoid. And we didn't have the diagnosis. And so it was actually, a bit of a gift in the end to be able to tell people that transition we saw in her behavior and her personality really did have to do a lot with something that was happening in her brain. And candidly, we discovered it when we went to her file cabinets to find the documents. And she was a legal secretary by trade, and everything, her entire life was organized. And we found the power bill in the, folder for, the sewer. And we found the mortgage bill in a drawer, not filed. And so we started by discovering documents and what had unraveled in her systems and how her brain was processing. It became very clear that she was, in fact, probably in moderate stage, even to some degree in some cases. And we were not knowing it was dementia. The behavior was very unexplained. And so it's helpful for adults, children, and young children to understand what that looks like, and what can happen.
Yes, Dara, and you raise another memory for me. My father was my mother's caregiver. And one weekend, I was going up to Central Florida like every weekend to help him. But I remember one time I walked into the house and it dawned on me how unorganized he had become. And he was a dentist and very organized. And I realized at that point it was the stress of the caregiving that was really affecting him. And he looked at me and he said, I don't think I can do this anymore. And
for him, for verbalizing it.
Yeah. And then that's when we moved. Yes, that's when we ended up moving them down to Tampa, close to me. And that just seemed to make all the difference. And he did much better once we downsized and he didn't have all the responsibility. He wasn't carrying it all. It's not
Yeah.
something you can do alone. It takes multiple family members. It takes so much support to keep this happening and to make this transition into this disease process that right at this point we don't have a ton of control over, pave it the way you're talking, Dara, to make it a little bit easier for all of us to manage.
Take every little step you can in every corner, right, to make it easier and make it easier on yourselves and the primary caregiver, in your case, your dad, but even on the auxiliary caregivers, right? When you're not living it every day, it's still a lot.
Yes.
I was just writing about that. Someone asked me to add something to their book, not having anything to do with my realm. This is just, this person was born in South Africa, and the word is Ubuntu. I am because we are. And so for me, that's open to interpretation. Again, being interconnected, having a support group. With my own father, I wasn't on duty, but for days before I would go to visit where he was now living, and for days afterward, I was trying to gear up. I was decompressing, the emotions back and forth. I know now, I understand now what it's like when I would have 12-hour shifts as a hired caregiver in homes, what it takes, how hard it is to disconnect, just like the parent of small children, that goes to do something with adults and says, I got to go. I'll be back in a moment. I'm just going to use the restroom, and is thinking the whole time, oh no, I'm not on duty. It's so hard to disconnect. And so, yes, for everyone involved, everyone who cares, everyone that responsibility has been thrust upon. It's like Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer's and my data diary have just as much crossover. My husband, who produces the show, asked once, "Are you about aging or are you about caregiving?" I'm like, well, it started with caregiving, but it often overlaps because somebody is changing in their mind. It's like, congratulations, you are now aging because someone else said, oh, here, let me help you with that. Or this is really complicated. Let me just do that for you. Or they call not to say, hey, how's your day going? It's like, how are you doing with that new medication? The one that you started yesterday. It becomes that. So
it's hard for aging and caregiving not to be combined, because with advanced aging often comes caregiving, right? So it's we all would love to live to our last day without needing care of any kind, but that's not usually what happens.
I didn't even think about myself, and I was just on a trip, and I got on this bus, and this young person stood up and said, "Have my seat." And I thought, well, that's strange. I'm not old. You do that for old people. This is what was going on in my head, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm gray. He's perceiving me as being old and maybe frail or whatever, which I don't perceive myself to be that way at all.
And was taught to be polite to your elders. If you see an elder, whatever that looks like.
Exactly. I said thank you very much because I thought how wonderful that this young man was polite and had been taught that.
Yes.
And not, I don't know how much it's taught anymore. But I thought, yeah, that's part of this community we're in, is respecting our elders, or as we're aging, gracefully accepting those things, because then that made him feel good. Like he did
Thank you.
something for somebody.
Yes, anti-ageism or whatever all you want to call everything, and I do understand it, and there is gravity to it. But just like a gentleman holding a door open, and I say gentleman, holding the door open
Mhm.
for a woman, if her look
Yeah.
if her response is, "Oh, do you think you have to do this because I'm fragile? You know,
Yeah.
I'm the because I'm a girl." It's like, maybe I shouldn't even try anymore. It's like, yeah, accept it graciously. A guy, oh, about 2 months ago, he said, a huge hike, big mountain, nothing new for him. He had been doing it and doing this and was with, someone else who happened to be, a couple decades younger, and two people go by with about that same age group as his companion and just say, "Man, we are so impressed that you have come this far." And of course, they were coming back down. So it's like, "Yeah, I'm only doing what I've always done." He goes, "That was my I guess I'm aging moment."
Yeah.
Well, and
You know?
aging looks very different, right? And
Mhm.
it's, there's active aging and there's healthy aging, but we're all aging, and we
Right.
to be able to be gracious and graceful enough to say
Mhm.
thank you when it's offered, and to accept it when it's needed,
Mhm.
I think is something we all need to work on, right?
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, not everybody is a really good caretaker. They don't have
Mhm.
that, like, in my family. I mean, I was working in nursing homes when I was in high school
Oh,
for,
wow.
and I always have enjoyed older people. But for some people, they're not going to touch someone's toenails. They don't even want to comb their hair, things like that. Not everybody has that caregiving
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
that ability to do that. It's like, well, not everybody can be a nurse, or not everybody can, do certain things. But I
Right.
think the more we can instill in people, like when my dad died of COVID induced dementia, he was a very sharp 95-year-old man. And it was just a really hard thing. It was pre vaccination, and he never
Mm.
had to be on a respirator. It attacked his brain. And I
Wow.
was trying to, he was in Iowa, I was in Texas, and family members were close by in Iowa. So he had family there, but, you know, they weren't going to do what I wanted to do, like, because I would sing to him and just comb his hair, and just because he always was very meticulous about how he looked. He was called a gentleman's gentleman, I mean, and I said that to my family members, who's going to sing to him and comb his hair, and they're like, I'm not, you know. It's just like, oh, it was so hard not to be there. But I did make him a CD so he could listen to my music and songs, his favorite songs. But I mean,
Right.
my point is, you know, a lot of people don't have that caretaking gene, if you will. And so we have to be, I think, even more sensitive to that, and help people understand what they can do, if that makes
And
sense.
reinforce it positively too, right? Like you did,
Exactly.
Alder,
Yeah.
when you said thank
Exactly.
you and you were gracious, because it was a reinforcement to that young person that was
Mhm.
kind, and that was something that you, even if you didn't need it, you appreciated it. So.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what we're doing with Mackenzie too, is teaching that there's all sorts of roles that people can take.
Right.
And a 6-year-old child, let's say a little girl, I was thinking about my niece when she was young. She and my mom and Mom was pretty late stage. She was still ambulatory, but she was pretty late stage. And they started playing dolls together. And just them playing dolls together kept them both occupied while we were making Thanksgiving dinner, and we didn't have to like keep going back and answering Mom's questions that she was repeating all the time. And they were having a blast playing dolls. So it's like whatever level you can participate. And somebody may not be able to trim toenails or cut hair, but they maybe could do some of the paperwork that Dara was talking about that needs to be
And
done,
that's exactly
or
what happened.
whatever, that hopefully we can find and figure out those roles that each of us can take so one person isn't shouldering all the burden.
Exactly. I so enjoy I mean, you've told me what your endeavors are, and then you told me why, and then you added in another story and another perspective, and I just these moments, these gatherings are
Mhm.
to me very, very rich, and I know that people I know some of you already looked at some replays, but I know the comments that I get when I post out the replays. So I want to remind myself right now to ask each of you everything from Learn Idaho to the YouTube where um, we can see and hear the animation and the song. Would you please, if you have a little bit of time here, send that to me so that I can add it in to posting that out?
Mhm.
Just how helpful to someone who goes, I've been starting to wonder. I mean, is he going crazy? Is he just turning into the person that I wish was not my loved one?
Mhm.
Or is there a disease, going on here? I'll be able to look at that. Or I feel like everyone else is really good at brushing hair and trimming toenails. But what about the stuff that we're going to need at a moment's notice? And we need
Mhm.
that now, this all these durable power of attorney and things that I've heard about, but I've never really had to know. Maybe that's my role, is to get that
Mhm.
together, and maybe someone in the family will say, "Oh, man, we are so glad that you did that." Or maybe it's just gonna be me. I'm gonna know that I did my part, and I'm just gonna feel better about that, whether it's going to be this year or more than 10 years from now, that's gonna really come into play.
Well,
So,
and
if you would please send those to me, I would just be so grateful.
I
Sure.
will
Sure.
be happy to, Christine. I think the one thing every moment I have an opportunity, and thank you for sharing how important it is to make sure someone else has their power of attorney. But I encourage everyone, make sure you have yours too. And one of the things
Mhm.
that, we talk about with My Data Diary, this isn't just a tool for caregiving, this is a tool for managing the business of life. And if you do it for yourself, you're giving a gift to
Mhm.
your family
Yeah.
now and in the future. And I have an 18-year-old daughter and a 24-year-old son, and they had a rite of passage at 18. They got to complete their healthcare power of attorney. And it was an education moment for them to understand that if they needed someone to speak on their behalf now that they were adults, they needed to have given that person permission to do so. And so this is part of life and part of the fabric of life, and making these conversations, whether it's Mackenzie and dementia or healthcare power of attorney, it's about
Mhm.
what we as families need to do to take care of each other throughout our lives, not just
Mhm.
the end of life.
Very good point.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I start to think in terms of, like my friend said, it's so much easier to think about aging when you think about your parents or them, those people over there that ought to be taking care of, that we have. Me, an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
go,
And people
that sudden brain injury that we didn't see that condition coming
or
this
an
directed.
accident, and
Yeah.
it's a it can happen at any time to anyone, and normalizing those conversations and not being afraid to talk about, if COVID taught us anything, it's that anything could happen at any time and we don't control it. And people often say to me, do you really talk about this stuff at dinner, like over dinner? And I'm like, yeah, don't you? It's like, this is, if you normalize it, right? But my daughter is 18 years old and she can tell anyone who asks why you should have a healthcare power of attorney, and how it helps families. And in her own way at 18, she's a little older than Mackenzie, but in her own way, in the classroom and in other places, she's educating, right? We have to educate at every level. And they, like the old Prel commercial, she tells her two friends and they tell their two
I remember that.
Well, it is a problem. I mean, because I have friends my age, well into adulthood, and they don't even have their wills in place. And I'm, and some have children and some have land, and I'm just, my parents were, that was one thing they were very on top of. But it is a thing. People don't want to talk about it.
It is. Well, and not having a plan is a plan. It just means that you're going to put yourself at the mercy of the state law where you live, which may not be what you prefer.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've had Texas and Florida and Idaho and Oregon just in this situation, right? Just right here at the table. I'm going to start folding up the cloth and putting it in the picnic basket and thanking each of you so much. Thank you. You've carved time out of your day and you've brought your heart and you've brought your brains, and it is so important to me that at the end of one of these conversations, or in the middle or at the beginning, that there be solutions, not just opinions and feelings and somebody ought to do something about it. It's like, you guys did. You did. And you have these things accessible. And I've seen a little bit of Mackenzie, and I have seen a demonstration of my data diary, and I'm just like, awesome. And yay, I didn't have to do that. Someone else has got it. Simon Sinek says, start with why in a book, and he's a person, and fill in the blanks, because I know about these things. I actually read his book, and your 18-year-old daughter can tell someone why. And a tiny child would know why that's happening. Oh, because the wires got crossed, and what was the sound of stirring and a beater, whatever, something in the kitchen got replugged over here instead. And so the horses are galloping, or the whistles are blowing, or there's an alarm, or something's crawling on my skin. It just got crisscrossed. And let's play dolls, because that is one way that the alarm will soften, and this person will be comfortable and know the feeling of love, and be, it might take a while, but when things get plugged in the wrong way, things things go crazy. So I just thank all of you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, the holiday season, and continue just being who you are, and thank you for contributing to lives well into 2023 and beyond. Thank you.
And
Thank
Thank you.
you for your work.
Mhm.